I'm JoeDay, and I am beside a rural road south of Santa Fe off Highway 14. The sounds you just heard are the footfalls of a racewalker. His name is Mike Budnick. I'd often seen him along the road doing his thing. Mike, how long have you been doing this?
Probably about 6 years.
Why did you start?
Well, it's kind of a long, short story. My wife had a back injury that she had for quite a while, and we were in the Senior Olympics in Tulsa, and she entered into race walking because it was less stressful on her back. She won a silver medal and got really excited about it, and she asked me if I would train with her. So that was kind of the beginning, and then we entered our first race, and I discovered I had a knack for it. I like the fact that it's not as stressful as running. I have a long career of being involved in athletics, in particular marathoning and racing, even down to the mile, which has its own stresses. But when you run, the impact on your leg is about 3 times your body weight. In race walking, it's about 1.3 times your body weight. So it's a lot less stressful, a lot less injuries. And unless you're really competing at a high level, you practically get no discomfort or injuries at all.
Do you ever feel as though you want to break into a run?
Good question. If you ever watch the Olympic race walkers, you'll notice if you watch very carefully that they tend to get off the ground a little. So in the last national race that I was in, the indoor championships, which happened to be in Albuquerque, in the last 100 yards, I went to the front and got disqualified for having both feet off the ground.
So that's the key. Both feet have to be a foot has to be on the ground at all time.
You always have to have one foot on the ground, and they call it the double contact. And the double contact is at the time that both feet are on the ground. And typically that's your maximum stride, so that's what you have to work with.
Some people have said it's a funny-looking thing to see people doing this.
Yeah, it does. You know, you watch a lot of hip action, and if you're going to increase your stride length, you have to push your hips forward, so that's the first thing. When you land on your front leg, it has to be straight. So in running, the knee is the shock absorber. In race walking, the hip is the shock absorber. So you see a hip swing and a hip drop, which gives for a funny walk.
You're 65, you told me, and you've competed in the Senior Olympics.
Yes, I have. I've competed in Sacramento 2 years ago at the championships, the national championships for the Senior Olympics. I've also just recently participated in the World Championships.
How'd you do?
First American, third overall.
Really? That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was a 5K race. Pretty hot, as you can imagine, in Sacramento. It was enjoyable.
How many hours a week do you practice?
Right now I'm averaging about 20 to 25 hours a week. I have a full-time job, so I have to practice in the evenings, and when the winter comes, I'll be practicing in the dark.
Where do you work?
I work over at the New Mexico State Penitentiary in Santa Fe.
And do you translate in any way your exercise regimen to your work?
Yeah, I do behavioral health therapy, psychoeducational classes, and I do a health and wellness program also for the inmates to prepare them for independent living when they get out of the penitentiary. And a lot of that is eating the right foods, nutrition, reading labels, assessing fitness, weightlifting, and aerobic activities.
Are they able, within the confines of the prison, to do any race walking or anything like that?
There's a treadmill, there's a small yard that they can do some race walking, but not a lot, and they have limited time. But they get the idea, they get the principles of the technique, and they also get to understand what it is to develop aerobic fitness.
Mike, tell me a little bit about the origins of race walking.
Well, the origins of race walking go way, way back. As a matter of fact, there were hieroglyphics from 2500 BC showing race walking in a sense, but it was combined race walking and running actually. But it wasn't until about the 1500s that it became popular in Europe, in England in particular, where the coachmen, the footmen that followed the coaches around used to walk alongside the coaches, and they'd walk up ahead and they'd prepare the sights for the noblemen who were going to be going here and there. And these coachmen couldn't run. So they had to walk, and they started getting faster and faster because they wanted to get from point A to point B and get their noblemen there quickly. They used to have races. They used to bet a lot of money on it. And probably close to the 1900s, it started to fall out of favor. But before it fell out of favor, the Olympic Committee adopted it as one of the sports for the Olympics. So in 1904, they had the first racewalk race in the Olympics, and it's been there ever since.
For KSFR News, I'm JoeDay, around and about Santa Fe.